Hi Math 5-4. This is the video for lesson 105 for Thursday, April 2nd. We're going to deal with dividing numbers by 10. So 10 is going to be our divisor. So I've written down, we have some rules for that when we're dividing by 10. The rule is if the dividend ends in a 0, there will be no remainder. It'll go in completely even. We'll do some examples to see that. If the dividend doesn't end in a 0, the remainder is going to match the last digit of the dividend. Okay, it's a lot of words. Let's put that into some numbers. So if, let me grab. Remember our math words here, divisor are what we're dividing by. Dividend is what we're dividing, and our quotient is our answer. So that's important, and understanding these two rules is remembering this layout. Okay, so we're dividing by 10. So 10 in this lesson is going to be our divisor. And I'm going to put 10 on the outside of my division box and take the number 342. Let's break this down and look at our rules. Okay, the first part of our rule was if the dividend, which in this case is 342, ends in 0. So let's see, our last digit for 342 is a 2. So that doesn't apply. We know it says if it ends in 0, there will be no remainder. Well, we don't end in 2. So that one part of it doesn't apply to us. Let's look at this piece. If the dividend doesn't end in 0, check, that's where we are. The remainder will match the last digit in the dividend. So our remainder is going to be 2 on this one, because this is our dividend, last digit's 2. So let's check that rule out, okay? So we can cover that 2 up for now because we're not ready to divide that far yet. So we can divide 34 divided by 10, and we know that 10 times 3 is as close as we can get without going over. So 10 times 3, we have 30. Step 3 is to subtract. So 4 minus 0 is 4. My step 4 is bring down, and then I start back over. I have a new division problem now. 42 divided by 10. The closest I can get is 4. 4 times 10 gives me 40. Step 3 is subtract. When I do that, I get 2. So my answer, I don't have anything else I can bring down, so I'm done with my division. And my answer is remainder 2. Now, let's go back to our rule and understand what it said. If the dividend doesn't end in 0, which we didn't, the remainder of 2, will match the last digit in the dividend. So we knew before we divided anything that our remainder was going to be 2. We may not have known the 34 part, and that's okay. But we could know, because we were dividing by 10, our divisor was 10, that our remainder was going to be 2. Okay? Now let's look at one that addresses the first part of the rule. So 10 is still our divisor. Let's look at 420. It ends in a 0, so the first part of our rule says if the dividend ends in 0, there will be no remainder. So we know this is going to go in evenly, okay, with no remainder. So let's start dividing. So cover up that last digit, 42 divided by 10. The closest we can get without going over is 4. We're going to line that up. Be sure you line that up over your 2. 4 times 10 is 40. Subtract, and we get 2. We have a number to bring down, 0. Now we start over with a new division problem. 20 divided by 10 is 2. 2 times 10 is 20. Subtract, and we have none left over. And we have nothing more to bring down, so our answer is 42. So the rule was true. There was no remainder. So you can use these rules when you're dividing by 10 to look at a number. Before you do any division, you can look at a number and you can determine if there will be a remainder. So you can look at a list of numbers. Which of these numbers have a remainder of 0 when divided by 10. Okay, so we can look at a list of numbers. So if my list of numbers is 402, 473, 560, and 789. So I can come up to my rules and say that if the dividend, remember my divisor is 10 on this, so the dividend, these are my dividends, these numbers. If the dividend ends in 0, there will be no remainder. My question is asking me which of these numbers have a remainder of 0. So that means my dividend needs to end in 0. So I look at my list of numbers, 402, 473, 560, 789. Excuse me, I was looking at two different things at once. And which of these ends in 0? The answer is only one, 560. So 10 will divide into it evenly because it ends in 0. Okay? So your practice problems, write it down here. Practice problems are on page 489. And there will be some that are division, like the two examples I did up here, that you'll need to just divide them out. And then there will be some that will be similar to this and say which of these numbers have a remainder when divided by 10. So if you have any questions or have your parents email or call me or text me or whatever, I'm here to help you guys out even though we can't all be together. I hope you're doing well. The video for 106 will be next.